Hello everyone, welcome back for the third video tutorial. So for this video, we will do number 6 and number 7. So I'm going to focus and show you the course that we can use to do the looping and be able to work with the multiple items. Okay, all right, let's dive into this one. Now previously, okay, just make a quick review. So you guys learned about the use of mathematical operations. We know that on the left hand side of your equal signs, it should be just the variable declaration or the name of variable. And on the right hand side of the equal signs, you can have as many as operation as you like. And also we learn the use of if, okay, to make the condition, make a decision, and we learn the use of else to support the other while part. We also use else if whenever you have more than one condition in your context. All right, good. Now let's move on and go to number 6. Okay, do it again. So many people, okay, when they turn out to be do it again, they might thinking about business use case first. For example, like suppose I want to let me remove all of this first. I want to print out hello 10 times. Let's say for just 2 times first. So if you want to print out hello for 2 times, it's really simple. We say print and then hello and semicolon. We do it again by just copy and paste this time and do it this way. So as you can see, now we do it again, right, for 2 times. But this is not convenient. Imagine that I write this number to be 200 times. What you're gonna do? You are going to copy this and paste it 200 times. What if I say million times? See? So that is why this is not convenient. And do we have any other mechanisms or the coding box that allow us to print out this one many times? Well, the answer is yes. Okay, so there are more than one way of doing this. Now the easiest way in that is that, okay, how about this? So in order to perform, okay, repeat doing things in, the technical term, we call them loop or iteration. Do it again, over again, all right, in the loop. Loop means, you go over this in circle until it meets the exit condition. So for over here, you can introduce another key term we call for, okay? And then we put the looping condition in parentheses. And just like making decision, okay, or when you specify the body of your function, you need to specify the beginning and the end of your looping statement right here, okay? So as you can see, we use the for, we use the parentheses, we use the brackets to denote the body of your looping. Now, inside the looping condition here, then we have to specify 3 different parts. So we separate each part by semicolon, like so. Okay? And over here, we're gonna say that we should have the startup number first. And I'm gonna call them int equal to 0. So int I equal to 0. So we define that I value, okay, is belong to the integer type and initially have the value of 0. Let's say that I want to print out hello for 2 times. So I can just put hello print hello right here. Okay. And guess what? I'm gonna have to increase this value one by one. So therefore, I'm gonna say I equal to I plus 1. Now, things go that is used to make what we call exit condition go in the middle. So therefore, we're going to say as long as the value of I is less than 2, then we would like to do this in this body. One more time, this is what happened. So whenever your program see this kinds of the statements, they first assign the value of your I equal to 0 first. So right now, the value of I is equal to 0, right? And then they check this condition one time. So since the value of I initially is equal to 0, it's still less than 2. So it's go down and do this one time. So now you can raise your finger number 1, okay? And then it's gonna go to this statement and increment the value of I by 1. So initially the value of I is already equal to 0. If you increment it by 1, then the I value become 1, okay? And then they come back right here and do the condition test one more time. You know that after this addition or incrementation, the I values instead of 0 become 1. The 1 is still less than 2. So that is why it's go down and do this one more time. And this time, after they finish doing this for the second time, they go to this statements and increment this value. So previously, the value of I was 1. This time, it's become 2. Now they go back to this one and check it again. So as you can see, since the latest value of I is 2, 2 is no longer less than 2. Therefore, instead of coming and do this for the third time, no, they just jump out from this block and do the coding below. So do things below. So that's the concept of the looping. See, just make a quick review one more time. In this case, I want to print out the message for 2 times. So what I need is first, I have to have the for loop. So I put the for, I put the parentheses, I put the brackets to denote what is going to be executed. So in this here, then I say I want to print hello. Okay, all right. And in here, you separate this looping condition into 3 separate statements. First, we call initializer. You put in I equal to 0. This doesn't need to be I, but in most literature, they use I to represent the index. It could be A, B, C, D, doesn't matter. And then we say that first, they call this one, then they check the condition. So if you want to print out 2 times, you put 2 right here, and then they does this 1 time, then they have to just do this, okay, by the end. So over here, I become 0, I become 1, 1 is still less than 2, so they do this another time, okay, and then they go back right here and increment the value. So now I become equal to 2, and as you can see, 2 is no longer equal to, is less than 2, no longer less than 2, so they jump out and do things below. Now let's take a look at, our trial right here, and you can see that it's print out hello for 2 times, and you can guess that if I want to print this for 5 times, what should I do? I change this number, okay, replace 2 by 5, and it's gonna print out the message for 5 times. Now, some things that needs to be careful is that when we think about, checking the condition, some of the students also put equal. Now, if you put equal, this one is going to print out how many times? Well, the answer is it's gonna be printing for 6 different times, including whenever it's equal to 5 as well. Okay, so just keep in mind that whenever you want something like simple rule of thumbs, then that's the number of the looping times. If you put equal, then you have to add it by 1. All right, now I can also do this, print hello and then like Andy as a second message. The reason that I can do this is that because each time when they perform the looping, okay, check the condition, they're gonna come down and do everything in the bracket. So if you have more than one command, it's gonna execute them all, and you can see that's give you things like this: hello Andy, hello Andy, hello Andy, 4, 5 different times. Okay, so just to let you know. Now, what if I just have no bracket at all, like that, and then print it out? Okay, so it's gonna print out hello. But if I would like to print Andy as well this time, okay, so you can see that the print Andy is not part of the looping. It just consider that this is gonna be like another code below the for loop. So that is why most of the time when you're trying to do the for loop and you have more than one statement to be executed, my recommendation is you have to put the brackets. So whenever you put the brackets, all of the code inside this bracket will be executed for you. Okay, all right, so that is how we perform a simple looping. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the use of multiple items. So previously, we learned about the use of int x equal to 10 to store integer number. You can use double y equal to 20.5, okay, to store real number. You can use string msg number 1 to store message 1. So this is to store a text value. As you can see, so that's the simple data items. So you can see that we refer to each variable individual one, right? But what if I have a list of something that I want to describe, like a list of candy, a list of students, a list of number? Let's thinking about simple thing first, like a list of number. So over here, I can just say store a list of number. Okay, so what I can do is I can now say, okay, list number 1 as the name of the variable equal to, and in dast, okay, you can use square brackets to represent your list. Now inside the bracket is going to be your elements or the items. Let's say that you want to store number 1 to number 5, so you say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we put the separators to separate each item using comma. So the comma will be used to separate each item, like so. Okay. Now the only things that you have to fix is, as I mentioned earlier, that if whenever you reference to any variable, okay, you have to define it first. To define it, we make what we call variable declaration. So on the left hand side of list number 1, you put the data type. So what should be data type in this case? Well, it's gonna be the list of int. Okay, so in this case, let's look at the reference. So let's say that you go to the dash and say list type. Okay, so this way you can look at how you handle collection of data. I think I would like to go to the official document, this list type, and okay, let's go for this one first. Okay, all right. So you have seen that we have the same thing. So like a list, right? So what should be on the left hand side, which is the data type in this case. So let's say that you want to have to support the list of integer, right? So it's gonna be just put dynamic one we call var. So when you put the var, then it will dynamically understand whatever is on the right hand side. And you might wonder, Ajahn, is that the case? Why don't we you know, bother ourselves using ints? Why don't we just put like a var, put like a var, and then it does the job for us? So let's try, let's say if I just put the var and line this one, you can see that now oh sorry, this should be semicolon should be there. Okay, all right. So it does the same thing, but the downside is whenever you use the var, not the actual data type, the compiler have to figure that out for you, and that takes CPU time, so it becomes slower because they have to figure what is the value on the right hand side. So if this value is 10, then it's going to dynamically allocate memory space to store the integer number. If the value on the right hand side of equal sign is the text, then they're gonna have to use the string to support this one so that you can use the var. This is not recommended because it's gonna be slow. So therefore, that is why we should use just like the direct type, like integer, double, and string. But for the list, it is more convenient because now you have things on the right hand side, then you can put like a var for now. Okay, we have more advanced way to make it faster, okay, later on. So you can directly use the data type for this. So for example, let me score to a list of, okay, does list of string. Okay, so okay, if I look at this, okay, then you can just simply use list, okay, followed by the angular brackets and the data type of this. Now let me explain a little bit. So instead of using var, okay, let me print it out first before I explain this in detail. So you can see that I can print it out and oh sorry, let's put semicolon back in. This is the part just to show you about when you make a single declaration for individual information. Over here, you have multiple items as a collection. So therefore, you can see that when I use the function print, they print them all as a list of items. Let's say that I have another list. Let's call list number 2. And I have another number like 3, 10, 20. Okay. To make it faster, you should not put var. You should put the word list of int, for example, and then you can print it out. How fast it is? Well, it's faster, right? So over here, as you can see, it does the same thing right here. Now, you might say, okay, this is a lot easier, just like JavaScript. You can just determine the data type dynamically, right? But it takes some CPU time to figure this out. It is better to just tell them at the design time that this is what we call the list, and these brackets represent, in English we call of integer. So they say that the items, okay, the data type for each item in here is gonna be int. So that therefore altogether this one represent the list of integer number. Okay, now let's try to see if I can just store, okay, a list of string or text. So first we say it's going to be list number 3 equal to, and guess what should be the operators that we use to hold multiple items? We use square brackets, okay, and each items, then you can say item 1, item 2, for example. And on the left hand side of this, let's okay, do this first, list 3. Now if you are lazy, then you can just put like var and then print them out like this. But as I said, this is already, solid type language. It is more easier for you to just directly specify the data type. So in this case, if you want, instead of using var, we're gonna say list of, okay, and then what is the data type for each item? The answer is string as the text, okay, and then you can print it out. Okay, so now this is how you have things like this. What if I would like to perform the looping and print them out one by one? So as you can see over here, they print them out all at the same time. But what if I want to print each item one by one? So that is why we can use the for loop. Okay, so we say over here, we want to print the item from list 3 one by one. So that's the things that I want to do. Okay, so over here, you can construct the for loop. So we say for loop, all right? And then over here, you put semicolon 2 times. As you can guess, the first one is going to be in I equal to 0. The last one is going to be I equal to I plus 1. All right, some say, hey, can I use I plus plus? The answer is yes. I plus plus is another operator. The double plus is the operator that allows you to add and assign the value to itself. We call incrementators. Okay, so over here is the same as you have this statement as well. It's becomes shorter as well to type. Okay, and in between right here, so let's say that you know this in advance that there are 2 items right here. So you just say I less than 2, and then you can print list 3. Okay, and if you do it this way, the problem is that, well, how about if I make the comments for the things above so that we do not get ourselves confused about what's going on? Okay, let me make the comment first. Okay, now the only output that we want to see is gonna be this one, and you can see that they do this for how many times? For 2 times. See, so it print out the entire list for 2 times. But what I want is that item 1 first time, item 2 the second time. So That is why we have to have a way to reference to each individual items in your list. So in order to do this, very simple, we say, hey, I want to have access to this item, so you put the square brackets, okay? The square brackets can be used to reference the position of the value. So for example, let's put 0 first, then it's gonna print out item 1 2 times. This is not what we want, right? We want this guy and this guy. So instead of putting 0, you might thinking about like, how about if I put 1, then it print out the second item. The indexing scheme in Dash is not like any other language. If it is a C base, it's the same. So we start up always with 0 to represent the first position. This is the first position. We use 0 index. Over here, we use 1 as the index. Okay. All right. So if you want to move from 0 and 1, you can simply use, instead of this number, you can just use I. So as you can see, the first time the value of I will be 0, so they are going to print out the first element of the list. And then they check the condition, still valid. Sorry, it check the condition, does this, and increment the value of I. So now the value of I become 1. They check the condition again, is still valid. They come down and put or print out the second item, because now the value of I is become equal to 1. Okay, so that this time we got item 1 and item number 2 separately. You can, if you say, Ajahn, what if I have 3? You can see that we only have 2 items, right, in the list, but you're trying to reference to the third element. What should be the output? So if you're trying to make this happen right here, okay, you're gonna see the first 2 are printed out correctly, but the last one is gonna show message uncaught error, the range error, index out of range, basically. So please be careful about this. So if you are not certain about how many items are there in the list, so the answer is we can simply refer to how many population available in this one. So instead of just fix that number, you can reference to list number 3 and use the dot operators to reference to the individual property. So there are many, property that associated with the list variable, and one of them is called range. So by accessing this one, it's gonna give us 2 as the output. Okay, so over here, it's gonna print out 2 items for us. Now, let's say that in the future, you have more items, like item 3 and item 4, then because you say so right here that you want to print it for the size of your list, so this one will give you number 4 automatically, okay, and it gives us the output like this. Okay, so this is how you handle the multiple item in the list, and this is how you print out multiple item from the list as well. Okay, so in the future, when you go to the actual business use cases, we are going to introduce the use of the composition of many of these together, so that you can combine a business logic and then also turn it into the code as well. Okay, I think that should be good enough for example for topic number 6 and topic number 7. Okay, so then I'll talk to you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.